Alright, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 replay cast. It's actually going to be another one of these best of threes from WCS. There's still a lot of great replays to cast, and this should be another good one. I may as well just rename my channel to LaughNgamez Cast Terran versus Zerg at this point, because we're going to be doing another one of these. I'm not complaining. It's the best matchup. You guys can fight me on that. You might not agree if you're a Protoss player, but regardless, this should be a good one. It's going to be a match with Kelazhur spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map. The Brazilian Terran player, basically Schrodinger's pro. He plays really good, although apparently he's not full-time anymore or something like that, but he's still a very good Terran player. Had some good results lately. And his opponent is going to be Serral. We're going to be having another Serral game. I figure it's been a long time since, I guess before the previous cast I did. It's been a long time since I cast him, so we'll get a bit of our fill of the current world champ. So yeah, should be a great series between these two. It is a best of three, so first one to win the two maps. And one thing that I want to point out right out the gate here is the fact that Kelazhur is actually going for a command center first, and I really like this as a Terran player on this map, as it's always a good option to bring out. And yeah, now we'll just see how this game's going to go. The command center first on a map like Year Zero is a completely fine option. You would be like, but what if you get Zergling rushed? For starters, I don't think Serral is a guy who's going to be going for a lot of cheesy, super early Zergling rushes. Of course, he can do it at times. But on a map like Year Zero, you're not likely going to see something like that from a Zerg player of his caliber, I feel. And this is actually a comment on the last video I cast. Let's just see, hold on. Okay, so from double-crossed swine, I guess the swine was double-crossed, I don't know. But he says Serral has to be taken out in the early game. Once he gets the late-game Zerg units, there isn't anything you can do about it. I'm not necessarily going to agree with the op in the late game part. I'm going to agree with the Serral's op in the late game part of that YouTube comment. But no, as far as this game's getting underway, you guys really enjoyed the last series I cast with Serral. If you're enjoying this one, or you think you're going to enjoy it, maybe a preemptive like or something like that on the video. Anyway, let's try and hit 25 likes on this video. And of course, if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Paying attention to the game here, though, as there was that slight deviation with the fact that Kelazhur went for a command center first, just going to give him a bit of a better economy. It might throw Serral off a little bit, as he, of course, doesn't know that this has happened. But eventually, if your opponent goes for something like, say, a command center first, a nexus first, anything like that, they're usually just little advantages that are really nice. And it's not like that Serral can just be like, I'm going to kill Kelazhur because he went for a command center first. No, that's not the way it works. Kelazhur has already got away with it. He has succeeded in his mission, and now he's already got a reactor up. He's producing Hellions. It is important to note that he's got this Reaper out as well, still just been scouting out. You can never underestimate a Zerg player, as they can turn on the aggression pretty much at any time. You just can't underestimate them. So you always got to be wary of that. Now we're seeing more Hellions on the way for Kelazhur. He's making a Marine, most likely just to shoo this Overlord away. Sometimes Terran players will actually skip a Marine for quite a while in the Terran versus Zerg, and the Zerg player can just be like, wait a second, I'm just going to park my Overlord on top of your base, and you have to make something to get rid of it. So this one Marine has the task of trying to shoot this giant balloon floating in the sky. He's like, alright, that's just easy target practice, I guess. Reaper's trying to get on into Scout for Kelazhur, but Ling Speed was finished, so he kind of just sacrificed himself. I don't know if that was the smartest move or whatever. Maybe he could have just brought it to pair up with his Hellions or something like that. Not the choice, though, from Kelazhur. He's moving out with just 2 Hellions now, though, as he's worried about a potential Ling counterattack from Serral, which are always lethal. However, oh, this is actually so cool. Looks like we're going to be seeing the build that's coming out of Kelazhur. It's actually going to be a double battlecruiser rush. Unfortunately for Kelazhur, though, Serral has scouted it, but oh, look at this, maybe not. He didn't see the second starport, so this starport going to float away from the Overlord, and Serral is not going to identify the fact that it is a double battlecruiser rush. It is a single battlecruiser rush, but it is not a double one. Or it is a double, but Serral thinks it's a single, pardon me. Mind gaming myself. Interesting to note that Kelazhur one of the players who pretty much always goes for his Medivac upgrades. I don't know if this is a fake and he's just letting it finish for a long time, but he is researching rapid reignition systems, which reduces how long it takes for a Medivac to get cooldown on its boost. So that's something that's cool to point out, but it is important to note that this indicates that Kelazhur is most likely going to play Bio, because you don't make a lot of Medivacs when you're playing Mech, usually. And so most likely going to be following this up with Bio, so the double BC rush into a third command center and Bio play. Actually a very greedy build in a sense from the Terran. This is actually a build that I want to learn how to do, guys. Like, I BC rush pretty much all my TVZs, but I don't know how to make 2 at a time, so I gotta watch this build. It's a very cool build. Now we've got weapon refit on the way for Kelazhur, so going to be having that Yamato cannon, in case you were wondering what that upgrade's actually called. And we're just waiting for these 2 battle cruisers to finish up. Kelazhur going to have 1 pop out, other one's going to be a little bit behind, but he already queues up an extra battle cruiser, so it goes 2 BCs, then 4 BCs, then 6 BCs, then 8, and I think you guys get the point. The Terran goes battle cruisers for days, and they get in there, and they get in there real quick. So we'll find out if Serral is in position to deal with this. He's got a good amount of queens already up to 11, which is actually an just exorbitant amount of queens to deal with this. I mean, 2 BCs, that's a lot of queens per battle cruiser if you do the math. Now we'll see, maybe Kelazhur is going to wait for more. He does actually teleport across the map though, so in come these 2 BCs. There's a ton of queens here and a Spore Crawler though. Yamato cannon isn't done, which is very important to point out. And look at this, Serral actually had enough queens in position to completely repel these 2 battle cruisers. So a great start for the Finnish Zerg player in order to send those BCs packing. I mean, like 2 BCs showing up on your door is always a surprise. However, Kelazhur, like Serral, just deflects it with ease. He knew that a BC rush was coming, and maybe he just figured that it was going to be that 2 BC rush, and that the other starport was hidden somewhere, because he didn't actually see it. I guess he just assumed it is that good. Double Yamato cannon goes down on 2 queens, so that is a guaranteed 2 dead queens. Meanwhile, the other 2 battle cruisers are going to be popping out here relatively soon. There's one that teleports on in. Kelazhur's going to have to micro these very well. You can't afford to be losing battle cruisers, so maybe he can pick off a couple of queens here, but oh, there goes a battle cruiser. Oh no, Kelazhur not microing correctly, loses one of those expensive units. He might lose another down here in the bottom right. He actually does. Oh no, this was a huge mistake for Kelazhur. He's going to lose another because this one's off cooldown. That is 3 battle cruisers going down, and that is just disastrous for Kelazhur. Like, you cannot make mistakes like that. You got to learn to babysit your battle cruisers if you are Kelazhur. Big mistake from the Terran player. As you have, I mean, they teleport in, but I think those 2 maybe were off cooldown, maybe they actually weren't, but you got to be careful with those. Yeah, I guess he did teleport them in, so you can't teleport them out. That's actually a mistake on my part, calling it like that, but I feel like if you're investing in BCs, you got to have them do more than that. I mean, and it is important to note, Kelazhur is following this up with Mech, but I'm not sure if those 2 BCs there were off cooldown. They had been floating around a while. I guess that one wasn't quite off it, so that's why it actually went down. Yeah, I guess that's actually a bit of a mistake from me there. Casting-wise, as I got into that battle cruiser rush, but no, I mean, still such a big investment for Kelazhur for it to do not a lot. I mean, he got a couple of Yamato cannons off, so like 1 guaranteed kill each, but Serral has lost 3 drones. That is 1 drone for every battle cruiser. In case you guys were wondering, that works out in the Zerg's favor. Now, Kelazhur, he does have a good economy behind this to follow this up. Got up his 3rd base. He's going to be getting up his 4th behind this. However, the concern is, you may have a good economy in Starcraft too, but when your opponent is Serral, like Serral with a good economy, there's nothing scarier. As he is just a fantastic Zerg player. You give him the tools to react, and good luck trying to get a win against him. So we'll see if Kelazhur can make something happen. He's got Cyclones and Hellions on the way, just continuously producing these. I personally am not a big fan of the Hellion Cyclone composition. I feel as if there's too much room to make massive mistakes with, and it just doesn't really have legs to stand on. If you can outplay the Zerg, I think it's a good composition, but I don't know if it actually is that good versus someone like Serral. Maybe Kelazhur should have just gone for like a bio follow-up or something. I don't know. But now we're seeing Serral. He's already going into full bop the heck out of the meching Terran player. He's getting Swarm Host, getting up a Nidus network. And the Niduses are scary, guys. Like, the new Nidus, I mean, it's not super new at this point, but it's been around a while. However, they are still just as scary, as they basically chuck units out. One Corruptor is being rallied in the bottom left, and if I had to take a guess, that is going to be Mr. Nidus Corruptor. Now, Queens are getting caught by these Cyclones, so Kelazhur getting some decent trades out on the map. Serral, though, he's still maxed out, nothing really to worry about. He's losing a bit of creep, lost a few creep Queens, but is in absolutely no danger of dying to this composition. And there we go. That's going to be the Nidus network getting called on in this. Corruptor has done his job spotting. And there's going to be a ton of Swarm Hosts popping out of this Nidus. There's currently 12 done. So Serral is going to want to get all these in there, unloads them. And there should be a wave of Locusts coming out pretty darn soon. There they go. They all pop out. Where's that wave of Locusts? There it goes. They're going to unload this. Now, the planetary isn't quite yet done, so we'll see if Kelazhur reacts. And, oh, he actually does find the Locust, so he intercepts that wave. So this base not going to die. A poor Cyclone dies, and it looks like a few SCVs could potentially go down. Serral not microing those Locusts, though. There we go. Picks off like 1 or 2 extra SCVs, because why not? It's just control for that. Nidus network gets picked off. The concern, though, is for Kelazhur that there can just be a Corruptor always around the back of this base, and there's so many Corruptors, he can never really deny this vision that easily. Cyclones are looking for Corruptors, but there's enough dead space for them to hang out basically indefinitely. So that is actually very, very nice for Serral. And Kelazhur, he is maxed out though. But once again, it's that Hellion Cyclone composition, and I don't know if I like this composition from Terran, guys. We see one battlecruiser is still out somewhere out on the map. It's just hanging at the back here. The flagship of Kelazhur's army. Looks like there's a lot of Banelings out for Serral, and when I mean a lot, that is just a big old ball of Banelings. 36 Banelings pretty much in one spot. Infestors are trying to get Fungals off. If they get connections on the Hellions, they are pretty much all dead because those Banelings are just going to roll on in. One Infestor still has one Fungal. Kelazhur, is he paying attention? Where's that Fungal? Is Serral going to toss it down? Infestor wants to get a little bit closer. Misses, only catches a few of the units. That being said, looks like Serral still rolling forward with a few of his Banes. Looks like the battlecruiser on this side of the map, I believe, got a bit of damage done. I want to say, yes, the battlecruiser is no longer with us, so he was on this side of the map. And Kelazhur is going for that transition in a sense in which he's adding Liberators to this composition, so not really a transition because he's still making Hellions and Cyclones, but basically just getting to the next step of this tech. However, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough because it's tough to make something like this work versus Serral. Right now we're seeing the Liberator count is going to go up, but the resources lost are already in the favor of Serral, and I feel as if Kelazhur is just going to keep taking more losses. So he really needs to keep this economy going. We're seeing another Nidus get called on in. This base could potentially be the one to find it. Looks like this Nidus has been found, so that's actually very nice for Kelazhur. Gonna shut that down before it gets started. Cyclones lock on. That's gonna go down. Not happening. Small investment for Zerg, though. Only 50-50, so a rather cheap upgrade. Now Kelazhur has to quickly go to the north as Serral is poking up here. Corrosive Bowels being dropped. Poor Liberator gets picked off. Doesn't even stand a chance. Advanced Ballistics also isn't researched, so those Liberators don't have as much range as they maybe could. In comes a bunch of Locusts as Serral just continuously using these. Those SCVs might need to give this planetary a hug. Kelazhur, you gotta start hugging this planetary. SCVs, oh no, they're not gonna repair this planetary. It goes down. Another massive mistake from Kelazhur, and the reason for that was because in the fight over here to the north, he's actually getting picked off there, so a planetary goes down. Serral is just picking Kelazhur apart. Fortunately for Kelazhur, he's got a base down here. He's actually just gonna float over from the seam of it, not ready to secure this. But that was a doozy of a loss. There must have been a pretty big engagement here. You know, we're actually going to go back and take a look at this. Yeah, this is worth checking out, guys. Sometimes I make a mistake observing, but it's worth going to go have a look at what happens. Yeah, Kelazhur steps forward, but there's an Infestor or two down here, so we'll see how this goes. Moves forward. Liberator's going to want to get set on up here, but clearly we know how this works. So Fungals get all over this Terran army. Banelings roll forward. Okay, that was worth going back to make sure we watched it. Oh, that was just disastrous for Kelazhur. Loses a lot of his army, and as we were looking at originally, he lost this base down here in the bottom left. That really hurts. And yeah, Serral just in a fantastic spot. Trading out more efficiently, playing just with this Infestor, Roach Ravager style. He's getting up more of his upgrades here. The players pretty equal on upgrades, and look at this, 20 more Banelings on the way. Serral just with a good economy, able to keep this going and going. Now, let's see. Cyclones or Hellions going for a bit of harassment, but Serral, a Zerg player who's on point, always get the Spine Crawlers, guys. If you're a Zerg and you've got Spine Crawlers, you are basically infinity times less likely to fall apart just to harassment, and it removes your opponent having that avenue of a way to get back into the game, because your economy is just going to be a lot harder to take down to a significant degree. And this is just rough for Kelazhur this game. Let's see. Corruptors come on in. They're going to start locking onto some of the production. One Cyclone pops out. Going to lock onto a Corruptor or two. Might actually be able to save us. I mean, these Corruptors, they take a while to start doing all their damage. But there we go. A lot more damage going to be getting done here. Production for Kelazhur is going to be going down. And no, he actually saves it. So nicely done there. Got to get some SCVs on repairing these. Otherwise, he'll lose these critical barracks. But look at this on this front, guys. I apologize for my observing. If you've been with the channel for a while, you know how it is. But no, still just Serral comes on in, always doing multiple things at once. I mean, looks like Kelazhur might be able to hold on here, as it's just some Lings and Ravagers. So maybe he can survive. But he's still only on 4 bases at 15 minutes into the game, which is not a good sign. One of these factories did burn down. So Kelazhur, what he really needs to do is be able to secure another base, but he just doesn't have the supply in order to really do that. And look at this, so many Lings coming on in here. Would be good to maybe see these Hellions transform if he has the Servos, and he actually doesn't. So yeah, they're not going to be quick enough to change in order to fight the Lings, because if you can change those Hellions into Hellbats, the Lings are not going to do well versus them. But this is just Serral, man. This is just so much Serral. In comes a bunch of Lings, in comes some Banelings. Unfortunately for Kelazhur, there is not enough Hellbats or Hellions in order to help out versus this just swarm of Lings, and that's exactly what it is. Kelazhur going to be losing one of his critical bases here. He's securing this base in the bottom left. And all things considered, he does have 60 workers. But resources lost, he's 7,000 behind. He is half the supply of Serral, and this is Champ right here. This is Serral just bopping Kelazhur right now this game. I wouldn't say it's a bop. Kelazhur's putting up a good fight. I mean, we can't say bop for every game that Serral plays. It looks like Kelazhur getting a nice move here, finding a few of the Swarm Hosts over, I mean, he picks off like 3 Swarm Hosts. That's a couple hundred minerals, whereas Serral has a big bank. And so still looking pretty good for Serral. Kelazhur is going into a lot of Cloaked Banshees here, and getting up that speed, getting up the Cloak. Has a few more starports he's going to want to add tech labs onto. As a Banshee transition can always catch your opponent off guard, Kelazhur's got to survive long enough. It looks like because of these Banshees he will be able to, so this is a cool move for Kelazhur, getting on top of some of these Roaches, some of these Ravagers. Having just a few Banshees would really help out, force Serral to maybe add some Hydras to his composition, add at least a few Corruptors. And yeah, that is definitely a good option for Kelazhur. Soon enough he'll have that Banshee speed as well. Gonna find this Spore Crawler with the Swarm Host, but those Banshees, they gotta run away because the 3, or yeah, like the, how many Corruptors for Serral? He's currently got, where are they? 3 Corruptors, yes, silly me. 3 Corruptors right out the gate, whereas he's making another 3, so now he's up to 6. And the Banshees not doing just too much. That being said, Kelazhur's staying alive, up to 140 supply. If you can max out in Starcraft 2, you always have a chance. Even versus someone like Serral, Kelazhur coming in with his Hellions and Cyclones, going to keep using his mobility. So as far as everything's concerned, I don't hate his composition. You just really got to respect the Infestors, and that's usually what causes the Terrans to sort of just fall, because they get fungled and then they die and lose everything. And now let's see. Where is Kelazhur at? Not making any more Banshees, realizing that there's Corruptors out. But what can he do? In comes Serral, moving towards the south. Looks like the Banshee's going to try and find these Infestors. Forces a Fungal out on one of them, so there's actually no more Fungal for Serral. But Kelazhur needs to get down here immediately to save this base. He's got Hellions and Cyclones coming on in. Serral is rolling forward, though. The Banelings are coming forward, but they're not finding the best connections. Kelazhur's retreating. He might be able to hang on and defend versus this. There's actually not that much Zerg, so Kelazhur holds on. Yeah, Serral overstepping a little bit. That being said, he got damage done at this location here, but without a doubt, this base in the bottom left is Kelazhur's most important location. But that being said, Serral got another Fungal or two, gonna catch some more of these Hellions and Cyclones. And so Kelazhur, I mean, he's fighting it out. There's nothing wrong with just fighting out in StarCraft 2. He's still down in a pretty rough spot and down a lot of supply. But, you know, never say never. There's always a chance. Serral so far still just making this Ling, Bane, and Fester, but he hasn't really reached that super critical, super scary army here. Cyclones lock onto a few Lings, getting a few kills. I feel as if we're seeing a lot of Banelings out of Serral, and okay, this is actually just incredibly scary from the Zerg player right now. Serral making 25 Banelings. He's got 39 out right now. You guys do the math. It's a lot. It is like 64 Banelings or something. Yeah, he's gonna have himself a full stack of Banelings here. Cyclone's locking onto all these Lings. And now let's take a look. Yeah, they're just gotta run away. There's so many Banelings for Serral. Look at this. He's got an... Oh my god, Serral. Banelings just annihilate that planetary. Serral does not care at all. Hellions come in to try and help out, but they eat some Banelings, so while Kelazhur's hanging on to the north, he knows it's over losing that base. GG, Serral takes game number 1, but keep in mind, guys, we're casting this full best of 3, so we'll be getting into the next map, which is going to be Automaton. Of course, because these are older replays, I got to do the whole re-sign-in thing as I'm getting re-logged in before the next game. Feel free to press that like button if you enjoyed that previous game. Serral winning is never a surprise, but we've still got this best of 3 to go through, so we've got the next map, and we are loading on in. Here we go. Kelazhur versus Serral. I'm really glad I'm casting some of these WCS games, as they're just good. And I'm having a lot of fun with StarCraft 2 myself lately, playing in the NA Contender Tournament, which is a blast. I put out a post about that, tweeted about that, and I'll probably do a video about that in the future of LaughNgamez playing some StarCraft. But as far as these two guys playing StarCraft, you know who they are. It's Serral in the bottom left-hand side of the map. If you don't know who Serral is, I don't know where you've been in like the past 2 years of StarCraft, if you've been following it. If you're new to StarCraft and you're like, who's this Serral guy? He's pretty good. The answer is he is very good, because he is the best. There's not even a doubt. No one can contend it anymore. Serral is the best StarCraft 2 player. And then there's Kelazhur. He's a very good player, and I think is exceeding expectations when it comes to current tournaments, because apparently he's not full-time or whatever anymore. He's still very, very good at the game, though. And yeah, we'll see how it's going to go between these two. No Command Center first, not on Automaton, not in the same matchup. But yeah, Kelazhur and Serral. What has been one great match. Now we're going to be getting on into the next one. Okay, so this Overlord going to be moving on in. Serral does lose to Proxy 2 racks. Even he does that, so you got to scout out for those things. Overlord's just going into nice, safe locations. Doing a big old sweep. Trying to find any potential barracks or anything. You want to have as much heads up as you possibly can. Meanwhile, there is LabBot 1X on the map. Just hanging out. Won't show us his face. Whatever his face is. Show us your face, my dude. Yeah, but no. Feel free to press that like button on this video, guys. Shows that you guys enjoy me casting Serral games. Also Kelazhur games. But, as far as this one goes, just standard opening here from Kelazhur. Getting up that next supply depot on the way. Factory will be on the way next. Usual Terran stuff. Getting out that Marine in order to follow this up. That's because he did an SCV scout. Meanwhile, the Reaper going to be moving across the map. Ling's on the way. Guys, and from that last game, I think I'm gonna try that double battle cruiser rush build. That's my homework after this series. In comes this Reaper, going to start trying to soften up some of the Lings. I feel as if just killing one of Serral's units is an achievement for someone. I'd consider that an achievement if I ever played versus Serral. Reaper comes on in. Is it going to get a Ling? Not quite. Meanwhile, this Reaper comes on in, tosses a grenade. Hits the Creep Tumor, but doesn't kill it. That Creep Tumor was placed in the back for Kelazhur. Good move, or for Serral, as you don't want the Reaper to pick it off, as that can be a very big hiccup. Notice the Creep Tumor is down 5 health or so, or was before it healed, because that's how much damage a KD8 charge does. Fun fact, because didn't they used to deal like 10 damage or whatever, then they got nerfed, then they got their cooldown nerfed, like once or twice, I think. It used to be like 5 seconds and it did like 10 damage, which was just kind of insane. Now, not so insane. Reaper comes on in, gonna try and nab up another Creep Tumor. That is a nice move for Kelazhur. There we go, got what he wanted. Serral placing that Creep Tumor a little bit forward, but the Lings weren't in position to cover it. As compensation, though, he might be about to kill this Reaper, and I think he is. Yeah, Reaper overstayed his welcome in order to get that Creep Tumor, and now he is a goner. Hellions moving south, gonna try and find that one Ling that peeled off from the pack. You gotta be very careful in Starcraft 2 not to be caught off guard. Overlord gonna be working away on this, or Marine gonna be working away on this Overlord. Overlord just flying on over, just a big old blimp. Just gonna spot this starport, gonna spot this tech lab. I mean, ironically, it might not look too unfamiliar from the previous game in which Kelazhur had that Medivac boost upgrade researching, which he let finish, by the way, which definitely didn't come into effect in that past game. So I guess you never know whether it's actually a battlecruiser rush or not based off that, or maybe the timings or something like that give it away. Third command center is on the way for Kelazhur, so going to be macroing up. I mean, it's always tough to decide what to do versus Zerg, but generally you want to try and hinder their economy a little bit. That's why there's the investment into the Banshee, into the Hellions, as they give you some nice control in the early game. Serral making a few Banelings because you always got to be worried about Hellbat attack. Just Serral trying to be in a very preemptive position everywhere. There is a Spore Crawler in the main base. This Banshee flew on in. Took a shot or two, though. Didn't get a single drone. In come these Hellions trying to find some drones, but Serral on point, pulls them away, covering all of his bases. It is important to note that this game, once again, we are going to be seeing mech coming out of Kelazhur once more. I don't know if I like the Hellion Cyclone sort of stuff, though, as it's just so tough to make work versus a great Zerg player, I feel. I mean, of course it's tough to make anything happen versus Serral, but Sorry about that, guys. I just had to have a quick drink of water. I think I had like a... Oh, I think I had like a throat... something going on there, but we'll get back on into casting the rest of this game. Yeah, I just had to get a drink of water to get back into it. Magfield Accelerator on the way, coming out of Kelazhur. And just going to be following this up with mech, so I do apologize about the whole voice thing. Anyway... Magfield Accelerator on the way. Serral just continuing on this game. Just gonna pause here. Okie dokie, just getting back on into it. Just had to have a quick pause there. But as this game proceeds on, we've got Burrow on the way for Serral, which is very interesting to point out. Roaches on the way. Nothing out of the ordinary there. And just covering all of his stuff, covering all of his bases here. I mean, Serral sees that it's a similar mech style coming out of Kelazhur, lots of Hellions and stuff. So he is just going to be going for centrifugal hooks. So that Baneling, Infester, Ravager, most likely, if I had to take a guess. Infestation Pit's on the way. So yeah, that's what you want if you're Serral. It worked in the last game very well. If you're Kelazhur, you might want something else to happen this game, as it did not work that game. Kelazhur might be thinking of trying to secure this location here, although I don't know if that's where you want to expand. I guess that is the choice for him, though, because it is the safer expansion option. However, it doesn't actually give you access to a gas, which is a mech player you generally want. So we might just have to see an outlandish amount of Hellions coming from Kelazhur. 1-1 about to finish up for Serral. Kelazhur already has his +1 attack, and when I say 1-1, I mean attack for pretty much all of his units, melee and ranged. Kelazhur runs on in. Hellion Cyclones poking around. Creep Tumor going to be getting picked off. Oh, okay, I like this from Kelazhur. This is how I like to see it be changed up from the Terran player. Going into Siege Tanks. Siege Tanks, the more classical mech unit. Banshee's coming in trying to pick off a drone or two. You gotta get at least something versus Serral. Really gonna be minuscule damage though. Meanwhile, there's a fight on the front lines and oh no, Kelazhur gonna be losing a ton of units there, a ton of supply as Serral jumps on top, catches a good chunk of his army. And it's almost just damned if you do, damned if you don't versus Serral, but trying lately has not been doing the trick for the Terran player. As Serral just deflects everything. Planetary. This base is getting turned into a planetary, which is an interesting choice, I feel, from Kelazhur. If you're just going to be mining at this location, I feel like you could maybe get away with an orbital as you're defending your third base anyway, but I guess Kelazhur just wants that to be extra safe. So in he comes once again. Hellion Cyclones moving on in. Is Serral prepared for this? He's got Infestors, he's got Lings, he's got Banelings. That being said, though, there's not a lot of anti-air to deal with these Banshees besides the Queens, and the Cyclones are doing a number on the Queens, so maybe Kelazhur can use this air control to great effect, and he's actually coming forward with his 3 Siege Tanks here. And Siege Tanks are not something that Serral was expecting to deal with. They really throw a wrench into things, because engaging into Siege Tanks is a lot tougher than into Hellions and Cyclones, because Siege Tanks, they counter the Roaches, they counter the Ravagers, they counter the Infestors, and they counter the Banelings, the Lings, you name it. Siege Tanks are pretty good versus what Serral has got right now. Of course, there is only 3 Siege Tanks, though, so it's not an overwhelming amount, and Kelazhur hasn't been producing any more. And of course, Serral, never skipping a beat, always hitting in multiple locations. Now hitting the main base, hitting the third base, which should be cleaned up. The main will take some damage, and while this is going on, guys, I'm sorry, I look away for half a second to check the counterattack, and Serral just dives on top of everything. Yeah, Serral went for the counterattack. Those Locusts are going on in there if you look on the mini-map, but as I was looking at that for half a second, we see Serral, he's like, now is my time. Kelazhur, that was a big mistake. Hellions and Cyclones were in a terrible position. Serral just pops this. I mean, Kelazhur could have had a pretty good spot there, and he had kind of caught Serral off guard a little bit with those tanks, but in the end wasn't able to keep it going, and now he's down a ton of supplies. Serral has Swarmhost Nidus that are going to be everywhere. And to make matters worse, the scouting unit to call in these Nidus is just 1 Ling. And I don't know if Kelazhur is going to clue into that fact. That's actually so cool for Serral. Look at this. The second that the Cyclone leaves, he might just call on in another Nidus. The Cyclone is on patrol, but of course Serral sees this, so he's ready to kill this Cyclone. Another Nidus here. Gonna be staying alive for now, but yeah, look at that. There's another Nidus. Yeah, Kelazhur's in trouble, man. Like, things weren't going so bad for him, and I felt he really had an opportunity there with that push, but he ended up pulling back and wasn't prepared for it. His army was too split up, didn't have enough reinforcements incoming, and as a result, we now see Serral in a pretty good spot. He's actually just going to be using this location to max effect here. You can deny the mining from the other side, and it's tough for the Terran to defend. The one Banshee is going to be doing some nice work, as there's no actual anti-air in the army of Serral, besides this Corrosive Bile, which of course hits the Banshee after it's fungled. Banshees can move while fungled slowly, but Kelazhur doesn't change path there. And as a result, Serral gets that pesky fly off his back, calls in another wave of Locust. Hellions and Hellbats, or Hellions transform into Hellbats, are going to deal with the Locust, of course taking some casualties though. Cleans it up, which is good for Kelazhur though. And I mean, he's at 150 supplies, so it's not like he is dead yet. A Nidus dies, and another one gets called in just instantly, which really adds insult to injury for Kelazhur, as he just doesn't know that it's this 1 Ling calling it in. I feel as if this isn't something that you think of if you're a Terran player, and you've never seen this before. I'm sure after this game, if Kelazhur checks the replay or whatever, he'll be like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And in future games versus Zergs, he might check for that, might scan for it. But in the current game, it's just something that you'd never think of. This is such a cool move from Serral. He comes in, he kills that Cyclone because, of course, the spotting link saw it. Kelazhur's not out of it just yet. He's doing it his darndest. I mean, he's managing to secure a 5th base here from the seam of things. Not doing too badly on that front, and his supply is rising, so he's not dying. The one Banshee is going to pick off this Nidus. Of course, the Swarm has dropped their wave of Locust beforehand. Cyclone's maybe going to lock onto a few of these waves of Locust, or a few of these Locusts, pardon me, which is good. But oh, look at this. Serral coming on in multiple locations, but the Banshees for Kelazhur are going to force this back. We might eventually need to see some Hydras coming out of Serral, which I wouldn't mind. It's not like Hydras are a bad unit versus this composition. So yeah, everything considered, it's not terrible for Kelazhur, but once again, Serral found himself in a pretty comfortable spot to do what he likes, but he seems to like sticking on this Roach Ravager Baneling, and with some of the Infestors in there, meanwhile, just trying to pull your opponent apart with the Nidus. Kelazhur is doing a good job standing up against it, but oh, there we go. Fungal and a couple of Queens is all it takes to bring down some Banshees. They are not the strongest units. Another Nidus getting called on in by this lane. Look at this Kelazhur, he's just not ready. And oh, look at this. This Banshee is totally just sharking about, looking for anything that may come in to call this in. But nope, Nidus gets called on in. Serral gonna unload the Swarm Host, calling that wave. Another Nidus to the north, thanks to these 2 burrowed Lings who are the MVP of this game. Like, Kelazhur must just think that a Ling is running in and then running out, and that Serral's just shift-clicking it. There we go, he scans and cleans up that Ling. So he finally clues into it. Maybe for this one he'll scan next. Is he gonna scan to clean it up? But this is actually so rough, burning a scan to kill a Ling, because Serral can just put another there if he so chooses. So that's actually so smart from the Zerg, because scans are not cheap. And oh, look at this nasty fungal growth goes down, locking onto Kelazhur's army, or locking down Kelazhur's army, forcing him back. A few more Banelings roll forward. Those ones don't get the best connections, but the fungal already did a lot of work. Now, Kelazhur fans, don't necessarily panic just yet. He's actually building himself up a decent mineral bank. He's got himself a 5-base economy, extra command centers, and he is transitioning into battle cruisers, so Kelazhur is not dead just yet. We saw a Greater Spire go out for Serral, which is a scary, scary tech from Zerg. However, he hasn't made any Corruptors just yet, so it's at least going to be a while before we see that. Now, you got to be careful if you're Kelazhur. He's moved on out, but his tanks are not sieging. They're sieging too late. He did not siege those tanks in time. They still get in, get some shots off, but Corrosive Bile picks off all but one of the tanks there, and one more fungal goes down, locking on some of these Cyclones, which are all very injured. So Serral just taking a great engagement when that so easily could have gone the way of Kelazhur, but just finding the perfect engagement. I don't know if that one was just luck or skill. I want to say skill because it's Serral, but if Kelazhur had just sieged his tanks a second earlier, that could have been a lot better for him. Meanwhile, these Hellions and Cyclones now have to retreat. Oh my god, Serral, the madman. So many Banelings just rolling on in. The SCV is split to try and get max efficiency, but Serral just having fun with it. Just crashes Banelings into that. Going to be picking off more and more of these SCVs. I don't think that was the most efficient move from Serral, all things considered, though. So, I mean, could have been a bit wasteful there. He killed off 13 SCVs, but that was for like 20 Banelings, so I don't know if it was worth it. And Kelazhur has extra command centers in his back pocket. Looks like Kelazhur actually playing a very good game. Look at this, 3 battle cruisers are out. Oh my god, is Kelazhur going to be bringing this back? Keep in mind, these are 3/3 battle cruisers. Well, they're actually just +3 armor battle cruisers, so they pack some serious damage. Now, 9 Corruptors are about to pop out, and once again, Kelazhur, he teleported his battle cruisers in, and this means that there's no escape. I mean, the BCs are focusing down the hive. Serral has queens here, so he should transfuse that, and there he goes, transfusing. So Kelazhur, he's going to get nothing done for these 3 battle cruisers from the seam of it. And oh my god, this is just so wasteful. Okay, he does get the hive. This queen did have an extra transfuse or 2, but didn't use it. These BCs are going to try and run away. However, there is Corruptors out now, so you want to be careful of your Kelazhur. And look at this. These are +1 armored Corruptors, and these are no damage upgrade BCs, so they're just pitiful. Now, fortunately for these BCs, they do run into some Cyclones, which can lock onto these Corruptors and help out. So Kelazhur, he's turning things around. He just killed off a base of Serral. and is really putting the aggression on. He's getting Yamato cannon. I'd love to see ship weapons start going up for Kelazhur if he's going to keep investing in these PCs, but for now, lots of Hellion and Cyclone could be working for him. There's going to be 1 or 2 Fungals going out, though. Meanwhile, Battle Cruiser just teleports out randomly because it's just such a chaotic engagement right now. Is there enough Zerg to send this away? Serral is maxed out still, whereas Kelazhur has dropped a bit in supply. However, as far as the now goes, there's lots of Cyclones on the ground. Queen's transfusing for days, so keeping this going, but more Hellbats, more Cyclones coming in. So Kelazhur making this real close here. Is he going to be able to keep pushing? But there we go. Oh my god, so many Lings run on in for Serral. The Hellbats get some shots off, but there's actually just so many Lings, they don't care. Just like, they don't care about how many of them die. They're going to win. And look at that. Command Center gets picked off. Serral not skipping a beat, getting a very nice move in there. Kelazhur, his economy still isn't too terrible, but oh, he lost this base here. That I didn't see that happen, but that one definitely hurt. But he's still got extra command centers he can float over, so he's given it his all. I mean, he's investing in some weaponry fit, so he's got like 1 BC out or something, but more Hellions, more Cyclones on the way. And one thing that is a little bit concerning for Kelazhur in the current, though, is the fact that 3-3 did just finish up for Serral, so he no longer had an upgrade advantage. He had an upgrade advantage in those previous fights. So he no longer has that going for him, and his economy, it did take a bit of a beating, so we need to see some mad mules going down. How much energy does Kelazhur have? Not a lot on all of his command centers, it looks like. But yeah, oh, Kelazhur, you got to reland that. Get everything going once more. As I mean, he did pick off a base or two of Serral, but he's low on supply once more. I really have liked how Kelazhur's played this game, though. I mean, he made a few mistakes so far, but he's showing a great game versus Serral right now. But oh, look at this, Serral once more coming on in, hitting all over Kelazhur. He no longer has a planetary at this location. He's got some Hellbats which can fight off the Lings, but there's so many Roaches and Banelings too, and this command center already injured is going to be very vulnerable. 1 or 2 more Corrosive Vials, and I think it is toast, and there might actually just be too much Zerg here for Kelazhur. He's desperately trying to hold on, but it looks like Serral, just with some more Roaches and Ravagers, is coming forward, maybe looking for the win. You got to keep retreating if you're Kelazhur, but no planetary to retreat to anymore. Ling's going to be getting a wrapper, and GG well played gets called. Kelazhur made it a close one, but in the end, Serral wins. And guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to press that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Regardless, I shall see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.